This video goes over the rules for multiplying and dividing two integers. If you're multiplying or dividing two integers with the same sign, your answer is positive. If you're multiplying or dividing two integers with different signs, your answer is negative. So let's look at some examples. So 3 times minus 2. Because I have different signs, I know my answer is going to be negative. Now I'm going to multiply the numbers. 3 times 2 is 6, gives me an answer of negative 6. My next example in B, here I've got two negative numbers, so my answer is going to be positive. 4 times 5 is 20. My next example here, 12 times 2, I have two positive numbers, so my answer is going to be positive. 12 times 2 is 24. And then in D, I've got minus 8 times 4. This little dot is another way of writing times, as are the brackets here, just to show you some different ways to represent multiplication. I've got two different signs, so my answer is going to be negative. 8 times 4 is 32. My next row is some examples of division. The rules are the same. Here I am dividing two numbers that have the same sign, so my answer is going to be positive. 20 divided by 4 is 5. Next example, again, dividing two numbers that have the same sign. They happen to be negative. That means that my answer is going to be positive. 72 divided by 9 is 8. Next one, G. Here, the negative sign in front means that you have one negative sign. So this would be equivalent to writing minus 100 divided by 10 or 100 divided by negative 10. So that means that we have different signs for the numbers. So my answer is going to be negative, and I'm going to divide my numbers. Last one here, I've got two positive numbers, 75 divided by 3, which is going to give me positive 25. Those are some examples of multiplying two integers, but in certain situations, you're going to end up multiplying more than two integers. If you have an odd number of negative signs, your answer is negative. If you have an even number of negative signs, your answer is positive. So let's look at a few more examples down below. Here we've got minus 6 times minus 2 times 1. I have two negative signs, so I know that my answer is going to be positive. Now I can ignore all the signs and just multiply the numbers. 6 times 2 is 12. 12 times 1 is 12. Example B. Here I've got three negative signs. 1, 2, 3, which is an odd number, so I know my answer is going to be negative. Now I can just multiply the numbers. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times 2 is 24. Example C, I've got four negative signs. 1, 2, 3, 4. So my answer is going to be positive. Now I can just multiply the numbers. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times 2 is 24. 24 times 1 is 24. The last one is example D here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negative signs, so I know that my answer is going to be negative. And then I'm going to multiply the numbers. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 4 is 24. 24 times 1 is 24. And 24 times 2 is 48. My last one is a little bit tricky because we've got some exponents here. Remember that the exponent means the bottom number times itself. So that is what's going to tell me how many negative signs I have. So if I have minus 2 squared, That is the same as minus 2, excuse me, times minus 2. And I've got two negative signs. So I know that my answer is going to be positive, and then I can multiply the numbers. 4. My next example, I have a 3. So now I know that I'm going to have minus 3 times minus 3 times minus 3. 3 negative signs. My answer is going to be negative. Then I can multiply the 3's together, which will give me 27. Example C, I've got minus 1 to the exponent 4. That means that I have 4 minus 1's or negative 1's all multiplied together. An even number of negative signs, so my answer is positive. And 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 is just 1. Last example, now I've got minus 1 to the exponent 9. The 9 tells me that I have an odd number of negative signs, so my answer is going to be negative. And then because of what I did in C, I know that I'm going to be multiplying 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 9 times, which is just going to give me 1. Those are some examples of multiplying and dividing integers.